Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the end of Lord of the Flies, chapter 12. We ended the chapter 11 with Piggy dying because of Roger pushing over that boulder onto his head. And we next have, at the end of that chapter, Ralph escaping, trying to flee from Jack and his crew. So now Ralph returns to Castle Rock at night, and he's trying to investigate what is happening, what happened to Sam and Eric, because they do get captured in chapter 11. And unfortunately, they are there holding spears, also having paint on them, and they are totally on Jack's side. But he tries to talk to them, and they warn him to leave and to not return because Jack has a spear sharpened on both ends waiting for Ralph. As we can infer, Jack has some very, very dark things in store for Ralph. They also inform him that there's a strategy that they plan to hunt and do an ululation, which is like a howling cry as a signal if they find Ralph. So Ralph decides to hide. Sam and Eric, unfortunately, they do give away his hiding place. The hunters all begin to throw rocks and they start a fire. They're all running after him. This forest is so smoky and catching on fire more and more. And it begins to get too smoky and so hot, so the boys do soon find Ralph. So Ralph begins to run for his life. He gets to the end of the beach and he encounters a naval officer. The officer questions Ralph, and he admits that two people have died on this island, which we know is as Simon and Piggy. The chapter ends with Ralph, who he begins to weep for the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart, and the fall through the air of the true wise friend called Piggy. And he actually connects Piggy as a friend for the first time in the entire novel. So the ending is bittersweet, but it is kind of ironic that the very thing that Jack was using to try to find Ralph ends up actually ending his entire, rulership. The fire that he started actually causes to become a huge fire signal for these ships to see that the boys are on this island. The book ends with Ralph lamenting for the end of innocence, the darkness in man's heart, and for his dear friend, Piggy, because it reestablished value in innocence, morality, and humanity, which are the three symbols that are shattered once the conch, because the conch represents these three vices, this idea of innocence, but the fact that it does shatter when Piggy dies does show an end to it at the end of the novel. Golding really desires to reestablish value in attaining our innocence, living in morality, and having a sense of humanity. So great job today with the debate that we had. We are going to continue into our groups next week, so be ready with your milestone items, and we will continue to discuss more and more about the Lord of the Flies next week. Have a great weekend.